I'll read the motion and Councillor Foster will give you the floor. Whereas municipalities are required to have codes of conduct in place for members of council, and whereas municipalities offer training to members of council on the expectations outlined in the code of conduct in terms of their conduct as members of council, and whereas the Ontario Municipal Act indicates that the maximum penalty that a council may impose on a member of council found guilty of violating the code of conduct is deducting 90 days' pay from the offending member. And whereas there are municipalities in Ontario, including Wasaga Beach, that are seeing certain members of council being found in violation of their code on multiple occasions with apparent disregard for the penalties and the reputational harm that it ensues, and whereas it costs the municipality thousands of dollars more for its integrity commissioners to investigate and render a decision that it ever recoups in lost wages for the offending member of council, and whereas it appears that the penalties are not severe enough to act as a deterrent to members of council who act outside the requirements of the code of conduct, and whereas it was recently reported in a national newspaper that bad behavior by members of council is getting worse, and whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the AMO, wrote to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing on February the 3rd, 2021, outlining additional options to enforce council member behavior, including the introduction of a range of financial penalties to be applied based on a common framework, leading to the possible suspension for a period of time and ultimate removal from the office for serious, willful, and/or repeated significant violations of the code of conduct adopted by a municipality. And whereas the province undertook consultation to obtain broad feedback on strengthening municipal codes of conduct, including that concluded in July 2021, be it resolved that the Council of the Town requests that the province act on the recommendations from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the feedback it received in 2021, and bring forward amendments to strengthen enforcement of municipal codes of conduct for council members. And be it further resolved that the motion is circulated to municipalities in Ontario through the AMO requesting their support. Councillor Foster, you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. There's really not much to add, as it's pretty well all in there, but as mentioned, the AMO has been there, and again, in the Star not too long ago, all over, we're seeing behavior that is non-conducive to the role of councillor or member of council in a municipality, and it's not just here, it's throughout Ontario. What we found is, I think this all kind of got magnified during the Trump era, actually, because Steve Bannon, his head of, I guess his promotional guy, was saying that if there's no penalty to lie and cheat, go ahead, say whatever you want, and the penalties. So you look here and you go into our places, there are people who are breaking the code of conduct, and the punishment is really just a slap on the wrist. Again, if you look at, if you were at an AMO or any of the big conferences and you sit and you look at a room of 1,200 people, they tend to be people who can afford to lose $1,000, $2,000, but there's no ongoing penalty. There's nothing. So again, if you can afford it, you can, why bother following the rules? And again, there seems to be not only a lack of respect for that, but a general lack of kindness. So rather than have a small monetary punishment, I look back to my days playing t-ball, where it's 3 strikes and you're out, something along those lines. Because right now there are only two ways that someone can be removed from council, that I believe. One is to be declared mentally incompetent, and that's always touch and go with us. And the other one, of course, is to be not charged but convicted with a criminal offense. So I think there has to be an ability for people who chronically disregard the rules and have no respect for the rules of the code of conduct that we all are covered by, to follow it. So that's what brought this motion on. And I do believe it's not related to this council specifically. It's related to every council and certainly ongoing, because given the atmosphere done on social media, I do believe this is just going to be exacerbated going forward. And thank you for that. I like the musical accompaniment. Thank
you, Councillor Foster. Before I do that, I'll get Assuming Councillor Foster, you move that. And I need a seconder, Your Worship. And I'll open it to comments. Councillor Kinney.
Thank you, Chair Wells. I truly understand and I support the motion moved by Councillor Foster. When you look at a code of conduct, whether it be ours or any other municipality, it's not rocket science. It's something that if you read it, it's really just trying to respect and be nice to people. Simple as that. So I do support that. And thank you, Councillor Foster, for bringing it forward.
Any other comments? Councillor Boulanger.
Yes, thank you, Chair Wells. I feel somewhat part of this discussion because of the comments that came up during my last sanction, and in fact, the mayor had expressed concern both to CTV and a local paper that they didn't cover my sanctions effectively enough. So I did want to point out to the public that I was interviewed recently related to the 4 sanctions that I have had, and they can read about that in the Beach Booster. And
Point of order.
Your sanctions, this is about request to deal with.
no, I have more to say.
I know you have more to say, but my point of order is that.
Okay, I'm done with that. I'm going back to this. I also wanted to indicate that a breach of town policy is also a breach of the code of conduct. And we have an active town policy currently that manages all relationships within the municipality, superiors to subordinates, staff to staff, council to the public. And we are forbidden to disparage a member of the public.
Point of order, please. This is not related to the item that's on the floor.
I believe
You're
it
trying to
is.
grandstand on several items. This is the item on the floor. It has to do with requesting that we send a letter to the province backed by the AMO saying that people should respect the code of conduct. We don't need in my opinion, we don't need your background on it.
Okay, very good. And I fully support this, by the way, and I'll be bringing forward some other concerns related to it.
Seeing no other comments? Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor. I keep forgetting to look at the screen. I apologize, Deputy Mayor.
No worries. Just a quick comment that certainly those of us that were at AMO truly felt that this term of council, there have been more issues of breaches of code of conduct. The integrity commissioners are much busier than they've ever been. A few would say those integrity commissioners have no integrity, but I think working with integrity commissioners, past and present, I can certainly say the logic and the reasoning behind any decisions they make have been outstanding with the integrity commissioners. We have been using this term, and I'm really happy to see this coming forward because I think we're truly standing up to protect not just democracy, but the respect that should be at this council table. Everybody works hard to get here, but when we have to work together, and our code of conduct is what sets those rules in order to work together most effectively for the residents, which we're all here to work for. So thank you very much to Councillor Foster for bringing this forward. I fully support it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. It's interesting, just building on what the Deputy Mayor just said, when this beginning of this term of council on our very first AMO conference, and you go to breakout sessions to talk about different items. I went to a legal clinic at AMO, that was 2019 before COVID, when we could go to conferences. And it was brought up at that thing to warn municipalities with all the integrity commissioners that were being appointed. They said, build into your budget a real cushion because you're going to see that explode, your expenditure account for integrity commissioner complaints as you go forward. And no truer words were ever spoken. at that, that's what's happened throughout the province, everywhere where, you know, those complaints throughout have exploded. So we, you know, the budget has, I don't know what the budget is right now, but it certainly is a lot bigger than it was a number of years ago.